Hi, and thanks for clicking on the video. Apologies for my voice today. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so it might disappear as the video goes on. What I'm going to be covering in this video today are all the small things that I need to do in order to get the bow ready so that I can actually start doing the initial paper tune and then setting it up from there. So the things that I'll be covering in this video, just briefly, are changing the draw stops over to the 75% let off ones, changing the draw length so the bow suits me properly, changing the grip insert over for the one with a better angle on it for how I want to shoot the bow, also setting up the gap between the string stop and the string, and then maybe mucking around with the draw weight a little bit now. So I spent a little bit of time this morning looking for my bow scale and I can't find it anywhere. Turns out that friends of mine still have it. I'm teaching them how to make their own longbows, fiberglass laminated longbows, and I lent it to them because they had a little bit of work that they wanted to finish off on the bows at home. Incidentally, I do plan on doing a series of videos later on in the year where I show you guys how I build a laminated longbow, and I'd like it to be done in such a way that you guys can actually follow along and build your own. So I'm a little bit excited about that. So for this video though, some of the tools that I'm going to be needing is obviously a set of Allen keys, the draw stop modules, and the inserts for the grip. The other thing is for the draw length modules on this bow, it's actually set up with Torx head screws, and that happens to be something that a lot of the bow manufacturers are going to nowadays. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe they've had issues with people stripping out the bolts because they use incorrectly sized Allen keys. I don't know, but Torx bolts are probably a better option for the job anyway, because you get a better purchase on them with the star-shaped tools, and you're less likely to strip them out because a small Torx bit won't necessarily actually be able to turn a screw that has a slightly larger Torx bit in it. So there's probably method to why they've all decided to start doing that. So I think that's pretty much everything I'm going to be doing in this video. So without further ado, I'll set the camera up a little closer so you can see what I'm doing, and yeah, let's go. So as you would have seen in one of the previous videos, I do have 3 extra riser inserts, and as I said in the last video, I think I'm going to be putting the steepest one in there because it suits the way that I like to hold the bow the best. So we'll get that one out of the packaging. And the next thing we need to do is take the other one out so we can put this one in. So this one, if the camera will focus, has R0 written on it. So I'm going to guess that's the number of degrees that this sticks out of the riser. The one that's going in there is R6, so maybe 6 degrees, not entirely sure. Goes in there really nice and easily. All we now need to do is do up the screws and we should be done. So that was pretty easy. Again, if I don't like it, I can always change it back, and there are 2 other options to choose from as well. So we'll put this one away. So the next thing I wanted to adjust on the bow was the gap between the string and the string stop. So in order to do that, it's got an Allen key bolt here that will undo, which will allow us to push the bar a little bit deeper into the riser to get the gap over there a bit bigger. Now it looks like it's still touching in the video, but I assure you there's enough room there for a piece of paper to fit through. And that's that done. One of the things that you have to keep in mind when you are changing your draw length is that your draw stop peg needs to be in the corresponding letter. So according to the manual, the A letter is the shortest draw length on the cams that are on this bow. Now this bow is 26.5 to 30-inch draw length, and I was under the impression that it was set at 29 inches when I took it out of the box. But if I have a look at the letters on the cam, it's in spot E. So if A is 26.5, B would be 27, C would be 27.5, D would be 28, E would be 28.5. So it's set to 28.5 inches at the moment. Looking at the actual module, that's directly behind the limb there. See if you guys can see what's going on there. So that appears to be in the letter E as well, which means that, yeah, the bow's set to 28.5 inches. Now in the video where I actually shoot the bow for the first time, I had a look at that, and a couple of people also commented and said that it looked like the draw length was too long. So what I'm going to be doing is setting this to 28 inches and putting the 75% draw stops on. They are a larger diameter than the current draw stop pegs. Then I'll go and draw the bow and see how it sits, how it fits me, and if that is all good, then that's where I'll leave it. But if it still isn't quite right, then I will muck around with maybe putting it back to 28.5 with a 75% draw stops on and see how that goes. So I'm going to do the bottom ones first, and I'll grab the scissors. So we have two red ones. I'll show you guys here. Two red ones and a black one. Now the red ones will go on the bottom because the bottom has one on either side, and the black one will go at the top because the top only has one draw stop. The long screw in the pack goes with the two red ones, and there is a tiny little washer as well. That washer will go in the recess that's in one of the red draw stop pegs in there. And then you've got a short screw which will go with a black draw stop peg at the top. So it does look like the draw stop pegs are Allen keys. So we'll use the smallest one on my Allen key set. So I don't want to lose that, just in case I want to put it back on at some point. So whenever you take stuff like that off of your bow, make sure you put it in a safe place. So now that I have the original draw stops off of the bottom cam, I need the long screw that came with the new draw stops and the little washers on there, as you can see. So one of the draw stops has a recess in it, and that's the one that the long screw is going to sit in, like that. That one we're then going to put into the cam in location D, because we're going to be trying to put the bow at 28 inches. And then the other draw stop peg that came, that's the matching one for that, has an Allen key cut out on one side and is threaded on the other side. So we'll be able to put that one on there on the other side after we've tightened the first one up. So we'll get the Allen key ready, and we're going in location D. Now the last thing you want to do is strip the threads in your cam. So you want it to be tight enough that it's not going to come undone, but not so tight that you're going to strip the cam. So then we take the other draw stop peg, Allen key fits on there quite nicely, and we turn that onto the other side. As you can see here, the screw is sticking out, so that's where we're going to be putting this draw stop. And it'll act like a nut, which will lock that screw onto the cam as well, so it shouldn't be coming loose. So that's the 75% draw stop peg on the bottom cam. Now we have to do the top one. So the top one's a little quicker because it's just the one that we have to do. So again, grab your Allen key, get it in there. Alright, so those are the draw stops done on the cams. The next thing I'm going to be doing is changing the draw length modules to the same location, so location D, and then I can go outside with an arrow in the bow, draw it, and see how it feels as far as the draw length is concerned. So let's get that done. So the way this works is there's two Torx screws there and there, and then these little holes all along here are all leaded A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and the module, which is on the other side, the grey bit, has a little peg sticking out of it. So you usually don't actually have to take these screws out completely. You just need to loosen them enough that the little peg drops down out enough of the cam that you can then rotate the module. So the other thing to note here as well is that these two grooves that the screws are running in have sort of, they're scalloped so that there's location spots for those screws to go. I guess that just gives it some extra security. So the first thing I need to do is obviously find the correct size Torx bit, and it looks like it might be that one. Nope, that's too big. Could be that one then. Let's have a look. Yep, that's perfect. So we'll undo that a little bit, and we'll undo that one a little bit. See if it's dropped it enough that it'll actually move, which it hasn't. So we'll go a little more and a little And there we go, we can actually move it. Now it's going to be very difficult for me to show you the little peg that I'm talking about unless I do take it off all the way. So in the interest of just showing you what it is that I'm talking about, let's do that. Again, don't lose your bolts or you will be one very unhappy person. So this is our draw module. Now you can see on there it actually says ZT2 TR 80%. So it's the draw module for this cam and it's the 80% let off. On this side there's that little pin I was talking about that locates in the holes, and you can see the two threaded holes as well. So let's put this back in the bow and make sure that that little peg sits in location D, which there we go, it's in location D, and we've got to get these bolts back in again. So it looks like those scallops that the bolts fit into. Make sure that the draw module is correctly aligned for the string to run over it. So again, same thing. These things are all made out of soft metal and the screws are generally made out of steel. So you want to make sure you don't over tighten things, otherwise you're going to have problems. Alright, so the peg is in location D, the draw stop is in location D, which means the top cam should be done. Let's get the bottom cam sorted. Now on the bottom cam you can see that there is a module on either side of the cam. There's this one here and this one here. So we've got to make sure that both of those end up in the right position. And it looks like the screws that hold the module in go through the cam and thread into the module on the other side. So that should be fairly straightforward to get sorted. So again, we grab our Torx bit and we'll undo those. They're quite long bolts, obviously because they go through the cam into the module on the other side as well. So you can see there that the module has dropped off, and the cam also has little holes all along here that are labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H. So we've got to make sure that the threaded, and it looks like someone's had a bit of trouble trying to get the bolt into this one before, because there's a bit of metal filings hanging out there, and it looks like they weren't very accurate when they tried to put that bolt in the first time. But that peg on the end, we need to make sure it lines up with location D on the cam. So I'll reiterate it again, whenever you are doing these sorts of things, be very, very careful that you line things up correctly and you don't over tighten things, because you can quite easily cause problems that you'll never be able to sort out without replacing cams and things like that. Alright, so I've got that peg in location D, and we'll get the top draw module, and we'll put that on the top, and then we'll do those screws up again. Trying to make sure that you locate the bolt in the hole first time and it's nice and straight so that you don't thread it or do damage to any of the modules. And then they sort of sandwich together onto the cam. I always like to go a little bit on each bolt at a time to try and make sure that it goes in equally. Alright, so as I said, I'm outside now to try and feel what the draw length feels like on me. My peep sight's not tied in yet, so I'm not actually going to shoot an arrow. Let's just have a look. Now I can also still shorten my D-loop a fair bit, so if this isn't perfect, but it's close, that's probably what I'm going to look at doing next. If it's way off, then I can move the draw length modules and the draw stops again. So let's have a look. So it feels pretty comfortable as far as the draw length is concerned. I'll have a look at the video in a minute and see where the string's sitting on my face as well. I might just do that again, holding the grip the way that I want to hold this bow, because I did notice then that I was gripping the bow the way that I gripped the carbon spider. So I've been shooting the carbon spider at 29 inches for such a long time that it kind of feels like I may be a little bit too short. I might try changing the draw length modules over, put everything in the 28.5 inch position again. Maybe the added the larger diameter of the 75% pegs will have the 28 inch or the 28.5 inch location feel good. So I'll go and do that. I won't show you that again because I've already gone over it, and then I will try drawing the bow back and having a look and seeing how it feels. Alright everyone, we'll call it a day there for this video, as it's starting to get a little bit too long and upload speeds in Australia are not that fantastic. So in the next video what I'll be covering is continuing to set the draw length to get it perfectly right for myself. I'll also cover installing the peep sight in the string, tying it in, all that sort of stuff. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to leave a like or a comment below. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and click on the little bell icon so you receive a notification each time I upload a new video. I'd also like to ask that any of you guys who have seen anything on my channel that you think someone you know might be interested in, please share the channel with them as well. Every extra like, comment or subscribe definitely helps. So I hope you all have a great week, and remember, just do good shots.